these years, and still, I stand here alone.
My name is Edgar Holloway, and I never imagined I would be standing beside my own son's coffin. Before this story goes any further, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from? Leave your city in the comments. I want to know how far this story travels. Because what happened to my family still doesn't feel real. I was 62 years old on March 18th, 2024, the day I buried my only son. His name was Caleb Holloway. He was 37, strong, sharp-minded, and built a business most men never manage in a lifetime. I always believed he would be the one standing over my grave. One day, straight-backed, composed, saying goodbye the way a son should. Instead, there I was, staring at a polished mahogany casket, trying to accept the impossible truth that my boy was inside it. The funeral home smelled of lilies and something heavier, grief, soaked into the walls. Black fabric brushed past me as people whispered their condolences. Every word sounded hollow, like it had been practiced on the drive over. I stood in the front row, hands clenched so tightly my fingers ached. Beside me sat Lydia, Caleb's wife of 9 years. She dabbed her eyes delicately with a tissue, careful not to smudge her makeup. Her sobs came at the right moments. Her posture never slouched, and even in mourning, she looked composed, too composed. 3 days earlier, I had received the call that shattered my world. They told me Caleb had collapsed in his office. A massive heart attack, they said. By the time the paramedics arrived, it was over. 37 years old. No prior illness. And be happy. No warning. The doctor blamed stress running a company valued at over $12 million. I should have been destroyed. I should have been numb. But as the pastor spoke about eternal peace and heavenly rest, a cold feeling crawled up my spine. Something wasn't right. Not just the pain of losing a child, but something deeper, something hidden. People lined up to view the body. Business partners, friends, investors, people who claimed Caleb was like a brother to them. And that's when I noticed him. Victor Lane. Caleb's business partner. He stood near the back of the room, dressed in an expensive black suit, his hair perfectly styled, as if he were attending a board meeting, not a funeral. But his eyes weren't on the casket. They were locked on Lydia. Every time she shifted in her seat, he shifted too. When she brushed her hair behind her ear, he leaned forward. When she spoke softly to someone, his jaw tightened. I had met Victor many times over the years. Smooth, calculated. A man who weighed every interaction by what he could gain from it. The service dragged on, filled with stories that felt edited. They spoke of Caleb as if he were flawless. Dog cows, calm, predictable, safe. But my son wasn't like that. He was intense, passionate, sometimes reckless, but fiercely loyal. When it was finally time for family to say goodbye, my legs felt like stone as I approached the casket. Caleb looked peaceful, younger than he should have. He wore the navy suit I bought him for his wedding, the same one he swore made him look too serious. I leaned down and whispered, "I'm sorry, son. I should have protected you." Then Lydia stepped forward. Her performance was perfect. She placed a single white rose on his chest and whispered something I couldn't hear. That's when Victor appeared beside me. So close, I could smell his cologne. He leaned toward my ear and whispered something that still echoes in my head. "Don't worry, old man. I'll spend his millions better than he ever did." My blood ran cold. I turned to look at him, but his face was calm, empty, as if he had said nothing at all. And then something impossible happened. From inside the casket, a soft chuckle. Quiet, brief, but unmistakable. It was Caleb's laugh, the kind he made when he knew something no one else did. My hand slammed onto the edge of the casket. Victor heard it too. His face drained of color as he staggered backward, eyes wide with panic, before quickly walking toward the exit. "Did you?" No one else noticed. No gasps, no screams, just me. Staring at my son's still face. He didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink, but I knew what I heard. The rest of the day passed like a dream I couldn't wake from. As the room emptied, I leaned close once more and whispered, "Caleb, if you can hear me." Nothing. But as I stepped back, something caught my eye. His hand. His wedding ring was gone. The ring he never removed. The ring I helped him choose. Morticians don't remove wedding rings. So where was it? That night, alone in my empty house, whiskey untouched in my glass, I stared at old photos of my son and realized something terrifying. My son wasn't just dead. He had left behind a secret, and someone at that funeral was afraid I might uncover it. I sat alone in my living room, staring at framed photographs that suddenly felt like lies. Caleb and Lydia on their wedding day, smiling like a couple straight out of a fairy tale. Caleb last Christmas laughing at some joke I couldn't even remember anymore. That laugh, it was everywhere now. The phone rang sharp and sudden, yanking me back to the present. Edgar, Lydia's voice was soft, fragile, carefully fragile. "I just wanted to thank you for today." Caleb would have been so proud. The service was beautiful. "Yes," I said quietly. "It was."
There was a pause. Then her tone shifted, gentler but purposeful.
"I know this is difficult, but we need to talk about arrangements. The lawyer wants to meet next week. About the will and the business." I took a slow sip of whiskey. "And Victor thinks we should," she added. That did it. "Since when does Victor think for our family?" I asked. Silence. Then, "He's been such a help, Edgar. I don't know what I'd do without him during this time." I almost laughed. "I'm sure," I said, biting back everything else. "We'll talk later. I need time." After I hung up, the room felt darker than before. Heavier. Victor's whisper. Lydia's perfectly timed grief. Caleb's missing wedding ring. And that impossible laugh. Pieces of a picture were forming, and I didn't like what they were starting to reveal. The grandfather clock chimed 11 times as I finally headed to bed. Sleep never came. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that chuckle again, Caleb's laugh, the one he made when he knew something no one else did. "What did you know, son?" I whispered into the dark. Outside my window, a car engine started, then slowly drove away. I didn't think much of it then. I would later. By 5 a.m., I gave up on sleep and made coffee, my hands trembling as I measured the grounds. The morning news droned on, but I wasn't listening. My mind circled the same questions over and over. How does a dead man laugh? Why was Victor so confident about spending Caleb's money? And where was my son's wedding ring? I knew where to start. St. Mary's Hospital loomed on the edge of town like a concrete monument to suffering. I'd driven past it countless times, but never like this. Inside, The air smelled of disinfectant and quiet despair. They sent me to the cardiac unit. That's where I met Dr. Patricia Wells. Early 40s, tired eyes, streaks of gray pulled back into a tight bun. When I told her who I was, sympathy softened her expression instantly. "Mr. Holloway, I'm so sorry for your loss. Your son was brought in too late. It was very sudden."
"I need to understand," I said, sitting across from her. "My son was healthy. Well,
He exercised, didn't smoke, barely drank. How does a 37-year-old man just die?" She pulled up Caleb's file, frowning slightly. "Sometimes these things happen," she said carefully. "Stress can be a major factor."
Was your son under pressure? I thought of Caleb canceling dinners.
Ending calls abruptly, becoming distant. "Maybe," I said, "but something still doesn't sit right." "Who brought him in?" I asked. She hesitated. "His business partner, Victor Lane. He said he found your son collapsed in his office around 6:30 p.m. And that didn't strike anyone as odd?" I pressed.
That Victor just happened to be there so late?
Her discomfort was immediate. Mr. P, wise eye. "Holloway, I understand you're grieving, but not every tragedy has a hidden explanation."
I leaned forward.
"Doctor, in your professional opinion, was there anything unusual about my son's death?" She was silent for a long moment. Then she sighed. "There was one thing." My heart clenched.
"Rigor mortis set in very quickly," she said, "much faster than normal."
"Usually it takes several hours. In your son's case, it started far sooner. What would cause that?" I asked. She met my eyes. "That," she said quietly, "is the question. Doctor, Dad." Wells folded her hands slowly. "Extreme physical exertion before death," she said. "Certain medications, environmental factors." Then she paused. "Or the time of death was incorrect." My blood turned to ice. "Incorrect?" I asked. "How is that even possible?" "If someone died earlier than reported," she explained carefully, "and the body was kept cold, refrigerated, for example, it could explain the accelerated rigor mortis." She shook her head quickly, as if trying to undo the thought. "But that's highly unlikely in this situation." I thanked her and left the hospital, but my mind was already racing. If Caleb had died earlier than Victor claimed, that meant Victor lied about finding him at 6:30. And if Victor lied about that, what else had he lied about? My next stop was Caleb's office. Holloway and Lane Enterprises occupied the entire 15th floor of a glass tower downtown. The elevator ride felt longer than it should have, each floor ticking past like a countdown. At the reception desk sat Jennifer, a young woman I recognized from company Christmas parties. Her eyes widened when she saw me. "Mr. Holloway, Edgar. I'm so sorry. I didn't expect. I need to see my son's office," I said gently. "There may be personal items." She hesitated, glancing toward the corner office. "I'm sorry. Mr. Lane said it's off limits until the lawyers sort everything out." "Victor said that?" I asked evenly. "Yes. Something about legal exposure, preserving records." She leaned closer and lowered her voice. "Between us, he's been acting strange. He's been here every night since it happened. Going through files, making calls. Last night too." "Last night?" I repeated. "The night of the funeral," she nodded. "Until almost midnight. I only know because I forgot my purse and came back." My stomach tightened. "Jennifer," I asked quietly, What time did Victor leave the day Caleb died? She frowned, thinking. He was here when I left at 5. Said he was heading out too. Seemed in a hurry. 5 o'clock. But Victor claimed he found Caleb collapsed at 6:30. So where had he been for 90 minutes? Before I could ask more, the elevator doors opened behind me. Victor Lane stepped out. Perfect suit, perfect hair, but dark circles under his eyes told a different story. "Edgar," he said, surprised. "What brings you here?" "I came for my son's things," I replied, watching his face.
"Of course," he said quickly, though the lawyers advised sealing the office for now.
"Liability concerns, you understand. Jennifer mentioned you've been working late," I said. "Odd timing." His jaw tightened. "Someone has to keep the business running. Caleb would have wanted that."
"And you were here the night he died?"
His tone sharpened. "I already gave my statement. He collapsed around 6:30. I called 911 immediately. Jennifer says you left at 5. His face flushed. She must be mistaken. Everyone's been shaken. Before I could push further, he turned and disappeared into Caleb's office, closing the door hard. As I left, I caught a glimpse inside. Stacks of documents and an open safe. My final stop was the funeral home. Harold Morrison, the director, greeted me with practiced sympathy. "Your son looked very peaceful," he said. "He did," I replied.
"I had a question about his wedding ring."
He checked his notes. "There's no record of a ring. Wouldn't it have been returned from the hospital?"
"Usually, yes," he said carefully. Unless the family requested removal."
Another pause. "There was something else. Your son's body was unusually cold, much colder than normal." That confirmed it. Caleb hadn't died when they said he did, or he hadn't been kept where he was supposed to be. As I pulled into my driveway, my phone rang. "Lydia." "Edgar, we need to talk," she said, strained. "Tonight. There's something about Caleb you need to know."
What kind of something? I asked.
"I can't say over the phone, but he'd been acting strange. Please." That evening, I stood in Lydia's living room, candles lit, a portrait of her and Caleb looming above us. She told me everything about the secrecy, the storage unit rented under a false name, the photographs, the private investigator. And then, "I was having an affair," she whispered, "with Victor." My heart sank, and Caleb knew. She handed me an envelope. Photos of my son meeting strangers, visiting a small apartment, sitting outside our family lawyer's office. And one photo made my breath catch. Caleb meeting Dr. Harrison, his longtime friend from college, a doctor at St. Mary's Hospital. Then Lydia said the words that shattered everything. "I don't think Caleb is dead."
"I felt the room tilt. He was preparing to disappear," she said.
Cash, fake IDs, documents. I understood then. My son had staged his own death to see who would betray him, and they had. I stood slowly. "Where is he?" I asked. Lydia swallowed. "I don't know. But I did. Because dead men don't laugh. And if my son laughed in that coffin, then he was still out there, watching." Lydia shook her head slowly. "I don't know where Caleb is," she said. "But Edgar, there's something else. Something worse. I wasn't sure I could handle anything worse. But I nodded. Victor didn't just want Caleb's money," she whispered. "He was making sure Caleb could never come back." My stomach tightened. He's been researching how to have him declared legally dead as fast as possible. And, she hesitated, then looked straight at me. He's been asking questions about you.
About me, your health, your finances.
Whether you have a will. Her voice dropped. Victor sees you as the only obstacle between him and full control of Caleb's estate. The words barely registered before she added the final blow. I think he was planning to arrange an accident for you too. The room seemed to shrink. Victor hadn't just betrayed my son. He had been planning to erase both of us. And Caleb, somehow seeing this coming, had chosen a desperate, brilliant solution. He had died without dying. We have to find him, I said, standing abruptly. We have to warn him. There's one more thing, Lydia said, opening a desk drawer. She pulled out a small key. I found this hidden in Caleb's home office. I think it's for the storage unit.
She wrote down an address. What if we're wrong? She asked quietly. What if he really is dead, and we're just clinging to fantasies? I thought of the laugh I heard at the funeral.
Soft, knowing, alive. Then we'll know for sure, I said. But if he's alive and in danger, we're the only ones who can help him.
The storage facility sat at the edge of town, silent and forgotten.
Unit 73 was tucked in the back. The lock clicked open. Inside, my breath caught. It wasn't a storage unit. It was a command center. Corkboards filled the walls, photos of Victor, Lydia, financial documents, bank transfers, surveillance notes. A desk overflowed with legal paperwork and burner phones. And in the corner, a small refrigerator. I opened it. Inside were medical vials and handwritten instructions. Temporary paralysis agent mimics cardiac arrest. My legs nearly gave out. Caleb had drugged himself. He had staged his own death. I was still staring when I heard footsteps. I turned and froze. Victor Lane stood in the doorway. His suit was rumpled, his hair undone, and in his hand, a gun. "Hello, Edgar," he said calmly. "I was wondering when you'd find this place." My mouth went dry. "What are you doing here?" "The same thing you are," he replied, stepping inside, looking for answers. He gestured around us.
Your son is very clever, very dangerous.
And he needs to be stopped. His finger rested on the trigger. "So here's the question," he said softly. "Are you going to help me find him? Or are you going to become another problem?" I looked into his eyes and understood something terrible. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about survival. "You don't want to do this," I said. Victor laughed, but it wasn't warm like Caleb's. It was sharp, empty. "Oh, I don't want to," he said. "But your son forced my hand. Caleb is dead." I tested. Old. Victor smiled. "Please don't insult me." He gestured at the equipment. Drugs, fake records, a cooperative doctor, even a compromised funeral process. Impressive. My heart sank. "How long have you known?" I asked. "When the will reading was delayed," he said. "Then I investigated." He leaned closer. "Did you know your son moved $12 million 3 weeks before his death?" My blood roared in my ears. Where did he move it? That's what we're going to find out.
Victor pulled out his phone.
"You're going to call him. I don't know how." "Oh, but you do," he said patiently. "Caleb is sentimental. He wouldn't leave Daddy out." And then it hit me. The grandfather clock, the strange chimes, the timing. It wasn't broken. It was a signal. Victor saw it in my face. "There it is," he said, tightening his grip. "You figured it out." Before I could speak, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and for the first time, Victor Lane looked afraid. "Well, speak of the devil."
Victor lifted his phone so I could see the screen.
A message from an unknown number. "Storage unit compromised. Move to backup location. Package is secure." My heart slammed against my ribs. "Caleb?" I whispered. Victor's eyes narrowed. "Your son has been watching us. The real question is, how long?" He scanned the storage unit, suspicious now, paranoid. That's when I saw it too. A tiny red light blinking near the ceiling. A camera. Caleb had been recording everything. "He's coming," I said, more to myself than to Victor.
"Yes," Victor replied coldly. "And when he gets here, you're going to convince him to return that $12 million.
In exchange, I won't put a bullet in your head." The way he said it, calm, businesslike, turned my stomach. This wasn't rage. This wasn't desperation. This was calculation.
What about Lydia? I asked. Victor laughed, a sharp, ugly sound.
"She'll do whatever I tell her. She's compromised, too scared to go to the police."
Then he shrugged.
"Besides, she doesn't know about the gun." A new horror crawled into my chest. "You're going to kill her too. Eventually," he said. "No loose ends." Then we heard it. A car engine outside.
Victor motioned with the gun. "Move."
Footsteps approached. Then a voice I never thought I'd hear again. "Dad, are you in there?" Caleb, alive, walking straight into a trap. "Tell him to come in," Victor whispered. "If you warn him, you're dead." My mouth opened. No sound came out. "How do you sacrifice your son to save him?"
Dad? Caleb called again. Closer now.
"I'm here," I finally said, my voice breaking. "I'm here, son." Caleb stepped into the doorway. For a moment, everything else disappeared. He looked thinner, older, hardened, but he was real. Then his eyes found Victor. "Oh," Caleb said quietly. "Hello." Victor stepped forward, gun visible. "Quite a performance." I was almost convinced.
"Let him go," Caleb said calmly.
"This is between you and me."
"No," Victor replied.
"It's between me and $12 million. Caleb laughed, but there was no humor in it.
You mean the money you planned to steal while sleeping with my wife?
Victor flushed. "She came to me. You abandoned her." "I knew," Caleb said softly. "I also knew you were planning to kill me." Silence. Victor's hand wavered. Caleb pulled out a recorder.
"August 15th, he said. "You and Lydia discussing how to arrange my accidental death."
Victor's face went white.
You were supposed to be dead. Funny thing about death, Caleb replied.
"It gives you time to think." Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. "They're on their way," Caleb continued. "Everything's been recorded." Victor snapped. "If I'm going down," he snarled, "I'm taking you both with me." He swung the gun. I didn't think. I moved. The shot exploded. Pain burned across my shoulder as we crashed to the floor. Caleb tackled Victor. The gun skidded away. I kicked it aside just as police flooded the unit. Victor was dragged out screaming. Caleb stood beside me as paramedics wrapped my shoulder, alive. When it was over, I asked the question that had been tearing me apart. Why didn't you tell me? Caleb looked exhausted. Because you would have stopped me. And maybe I should have, I said. There wasn't another way, he replied. He was going to kill us both. Later, as we stood outside under harsh lights, I asked, "What now?" "I have to come back from the dead," he said. "Legally, it's complicated." "And Lydia?"
His jaw tightened.
She chose her side. 3 days later, I sat in a small apartment above a used bookstore, Caleb's safe house. We were drinking coffee like this was normal. It wasn't. "Derek may be arrested," I said, "but Lydia knows you're alive." Caleb nodded. "She's desperate." His phone buzzed. He showed me the screen. "I know you're alive. Meet me at the house in 1 hour or I burn it all down." "What does she mean, burn it down?" I asked. Caleb spread photographs across the desk. Evidence. Financial crimes. Embezzlement. Murder plots. "If she destroys this," he said, "Victor could walk free." I stood up, testing my wounded shoulder. "Then we don't let her." Caleb looked at me, searching my face. "Dad, this could be dangerous." I met his eyes. "So is letting her think she won." "What's your plan?" I asked. Caleb spread a hand-drawn map across the small kitchen table. The house on Elm Street. Every room marked with careful precision.
She's expecting me to come alone,
he said. She thinks she can still manipulate me. One last conversation. One last deal. He looked up at me. "But she won't see you coming." "You want me to go with you?" I said. "I need you," he replied. "Back up." He pointed to the second floor. "While I'm talking to her in the living room, you enter through the garden door. My home office is upstairs. There's a fireproof safe hidden behind the bookshelf. That's where the evidence is." I studied the map slowly, thinking like a man who'd lived long enough to know plans never survive reality. What if she's armed? Caleb shook his head. Lydia's weapon has always been manipulation, not violence. Bored. Then he hesitated.
"But if I'm wrong," he held up his phone.
An app glowed on the screen. One tap, direct line to Detective Rodriguez. They'll be listening. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than letting that woman burn the truth to ash. "All right," I said finally, "but we do this smart." No heroics. Caleb smiled, a real smile. The first one I'd seen since he walked out of the shadows alive. "Thanks, Dad." An hour later, we sat parked down the street from the house on Elm. From the outside, it looked untouched by betrayal. Perfect lawn, polished windows, luxury cars. A lie dressed up as a dream. "Give me 15 minutes, Caleb said. "She'll want to negotiate." I squeezed his arm. "Don't underestimate desperation." He nodded and stepped out of the car. The doorbell. Buys. Death. Everything rang the doorbell by explosions. Everything by explosion drew up from the glass. Then the door opened, and my son disappeared inside. I counted to 60. Then I moved. The side door opened quietly. I slipped into the kitchen, like a ghost haunting his own memories. Voices drifted from the living room, tense, sharp, rising. I climbed the back stairs. The office was exactly as Caleb described it. Dark wood, orderly, controlled. Behind the bookshelf, the safe, the combination. My wife's birthday. The safe opened with a soft click. Inside, Documents, flash drives, recordings, truth. I stuffed everything into the bag. Then I heard Lydia scream. Not fear, rage. Something heavy hit the floor. I ran. The smell hit me first. Gasoline. The living room was soaked. Furniture, rugs, photos. Lydia stood 10 feet from my son, in her hands. Not a gun, a gas can, and a lighter. "Hello, Edgar," she said calmly. "I was wondering when you'd show up." She smiled. Caleb always was the daddy's boy. "Lydia," I said carefully, "put the lighter down." She laughed, sharp, broken. "Work this out. Your son ruined my life." "Victor ruined his own life," Caleb said evenly. "You helped." "Victor loved me," she screamed. "He was going to take care of me." Caleb's hand drifted, slowly, toward his shoe. "Don't," Lydia snapped. "You move. I burn this place down with all of us inside." The lighter flared. Then she saw the bag. "Give it to me." We were trapped. If I handed it over, Victor might walk free. If I didn't, we might all die. Then Caleb looked at me and mouthed one word: trust. He stepped forward, closer to the fire. "You're right," he said softly. "I ruined your life." The lighter trembled. "I loved you," he continued. "Even after I knew about Victor, I hoped you'd come back." Tears streamed down her face. "You never loved me," she whispered. "You loved your money, your father." "No," Caleb said. "I loved you most." "That's why this hurts." Sirens wailed outside. Her face twisted. "You called them?" "I did," Caleb said. "Because I want you to live." She screamed and dropped the flame. Fire exploded. Heat slammed into us like a living thing. Caleb grabbed my arm. "This way!" We ran. Smoke swallowed the hallway. Lydia's screams echoed behind us. Rage, regret, terror. We burst out the back door as fire trucks screamed to a stop. I collapsed onto the grass, clutching the bag. "The evidence," I gasped.
Safe, Caleb said. "Everything we need."
Detective Rodriguez appeared moments later. "You both all right?"
"We are," Caleb said.
Lydia's still inside. Firefighters emerged, carrying her out. Unconscious, alive. "She'll live," Rodriguez said. "And she'll be charged." I watched as Lydia was loaded into the ambulance. Beautiful, empty. "What happens now?" I asked. Rodriguez nodded at the bag. "Victor is done. 30 years minimum. Lydia, arson, conspiracy. 15 to 20. Justice. At last." Caleb stared at the burning house. "I built it for her," he said quietly. "You can't buy love, son," I replied. He nodded. At dawn, the fire died. Only a skeleton remained. "I'm sorry," I said. Caleb shook his head. "No," he said. "I finally see the truth. Sometimes a man has to lose everything he built to save the family that truly mattered." "Don't be..." Caleb said softly as we stood watching the last embers fade. This needed to end. Not the fire, but the lie. I was holding on to something that was never real. I nodded. I understood that better than he knew. Detective Rodriguez approached us one final time before we left the ruins of the house on Elm Street. "Victor Morrison has agreed to plead guilty to all charges," she said. "Life sentence, no parole." He wanted to avoid the death penalty. I felt no joy, only a grim sense of balance. Victor would spend the rest of his days in a concrete box, alone with his greed, replaying the moment everything slipped through his fingers. It wouldn't undo the betrayal or erase the damage, but it was justice, and sometimes justice is enough. As we drove away, the charred remains shrinking in the rearview mirror, I asked the question that had been weighing on me. What about the company? Caleb stared out the window for a long moment. Holloway Morrison Enterprises is finished, he said. Too much blood in the foundation. Then he turned to me. But I've been thinking about starting over. Something smaller, honest. Something we build together. The idea caught me off guard. I was 62 years old, supposedly past new beginnings. But the thought of working beside my son, of building something clean, something earned, felt right. What did you have in mind? I asked. Caleb smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. Security consulting, helping people protect themselves from betrayal. If anyone understands that, it's us. Do you wash? The weeks that followed were quieter. Court hearings, paperwork, media interest that eventually faded. Caleb moved into my spare bedroom while he worked through the legal nightmare of coming back from the dead. Turns out resurrection requires an impressive amount of documentation. The offshore money became seed capital for our new venture, Holloway Security Consulting. We specialized in background checks, fraud detection, and internal threat assessment. Our first clients were small business owners, people who'd heard our story and didn't want their own Victor sitting across the table. We hired Dr. Harrison as a consultant. His knowledge of poisoning and drug-induced medical events proved invaluable.
Jennifer, Caleb's former receptionist, joined us as office manager. Then Jennifer's manager,
she admitted she'd always felt something was wrong the day Caleb died. She wanted to help people, not exploit them. For the first time in months, life felt steady. 3 months after the fire, I was reviewing a case file when Caleb knocked on my office door. Dad, you've got a visitor. Behind him stood a woman, tall, composed, intelligent eyes, a calm confidence that didn't demand attention. This is Sarah Chen, Caleb said. She's a forensic accountant from the Victor case. Then he hesitated, just a bit. And someone I've been spending time with. I shook her hand and studied her face. There was no manipulation there, no performance. After Lydia, I'd wondered if Caleb would ever trust again. Sarah looked like someone worth the risk. After she left, Caleb lingered. She makes me feel like I can trust again, he said quietly. Like I can build something real. Becoming never pleasant. I thought about how far he'd come. Trust your instincts, I told him. You've earned the right to be happy. That evening I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine, watching the sky burn gold and orange. My shoulder had healed, only a thin scar remained. The physical wounds had closed faster than the emotional ones, but both had healed in their own time. My phone buzzed. A message from Detective Rodriguez. Victor Morrison died in prison today. Heart attack. Thought you should know. I stared at the screen for a long time. 41 years old. Healthy. Cruel. The man who planned to fake my son's heart attack had died of a real one. I felt no satisfaction, only closure. An hour later, Caleb joined me on the porch with his own glass. She called me too, he said. How do you feel? I considered it. Relieved, I said. And grateful. Grateful we survived. Grateful we found each other again. Grateful we learned who our real family was.
I raised my glass.
To second chances.
Caleb clinked his glass against mine.
To second chances, and to the people who deserve them. The grandfather clock chimed 9 times inside the house. Dull. Caleb had fixed it after moving back in. No more hidden messages. No more secrets. Just time. Moving forward as it should. I thought about Lydia sometimes. Prison. The papers said. Model inmate. Library work. Courses. Maybe she was finally learning who she was without pretending. I didn't forgive her, but I let go of my anger. Hatred poisons the person carrying it more than the one it's aimed at. Caleb broke the silence. Dad, thank you for trusting me, for risking everything. I squeezed his shoulder. That's what family does, I said. We protect each other, no matter the cost. He smiled, and for the first time since the funeral, he looked like himself again. The stars came out, small lights against the dark. But darkness isn't so frightening when you don't face it alone. Caleb was alive. Our family was safe. And sometimes, that's all the victory you can ask for.